Thinking of exiting your business or taking on a private equity partner to help you grow faster? BizNexus has you covered. Tap into our network of thousands of best-fit investors, acquirers, and proven M&A advisors, and we'll help you begin the relationship confidentially on your terms, your timeline. Learn more at biznexus.com.
Disclaimer from the always present legal team. Podcast conversations don't necessarily reflect the views of BizNexus Incorporated. Everything you hear is informational news and updates from around the industry. We're not recommending any investments. We're not offering any investment advice. Be sure to do your own homework.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to The Deep Dive. Today we're going to get into something that I know is probably on all of our minds. How to make LinkedIn DMs work for us in 2025. We all have tons of connections on LinkedIn, but are we actually using them right? We're going to look at some insights from marketing rocker Yuri Vermtuk, and he has some thoughts on why most of us are doing LinkedIn DMs totally wrong, and I'm including myself in that.
Well, yeah, I think it's so easy to start treating LinkedIn like it's just another spot to send emails, but it's just not. It's really a social platform that is meant for building relationships, and that means we need to come at it a different way.
That makes sense, but what does that actually look like? When was the last time you opened a LinkedIn DM? And it basically was just a shorter version of a cold email.
Oh, gosh. I mean, more times than I can count. And that's exactly what Yuri's talking about. He's really pushing back against that. He even has some data from Lavender showing that DMs written at a 6th grade reading level do way better, 67% better, actually.
Wow, a 6th grade reading level. That's really interesting. So it's not about trying to sound super professional or using all this fancy jargon?
Nope. Not at all. You have to think about it. When you're scrolling through LinkedIn, you're probably going pretty fast. You're not looking for some long and complicated message. You want something that's easy to read, that's interesting, and that gets to the point quickly.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we make our DMs less robotic and more conversational?
Yuri has a rule that I really like. Keep your DMs short, 3 or 4 sentences max. Like it's a text message. It shouldn't look anything like an email.
Okay, so keep it short. But how do we also make sure that those short messages are actually effective?
That comes down to being relevant. Instead of just saying, I hope this message finds you well, which is so generic, Yuri suggests starting with something specific about the person's work or their company, something that shows you actually know what they do.
So instead of saying, hey, I saw your profile, I could say something like, I was so impressed with that article you wrote on X. I've been thinking about that topic a lot lately.
Exactly. You're showing them that you're not just spanning everyone you see. You're actually interested in what they have to say. It just makes the whole conversation feel so much more personal and less like a transaction.
I like that. More personal and less like a transaction. Okay, so we've grabbed their attention with a relevant opener. Now what? How do we keep that momentum going? So how do I actually pitch something? It can't all be just, casual conversation.
Right. You still need to get your message across. But you just have to think about how you're doing it on LinkedIn differently than, say, a cold email.
So what's the main difference then? How do I avoid sounding too salesy?
Yuri is really into this idea of focusing on value, not features. It's less about what you or your company does and more about how that helps the person you're messaging.
Oh, so instead of saying, my company offers X, Y, and Z, I should say, here's how we can help you achieve A, B, and C.
Exactly. You have to really try to see it from their side and think about what they care about. Like, what are the things they're struggling with? What's keeping them up at night?
Yeah, I think I'm guilty of sending those me-centric DMs. I can see why that's a turnoff.
It can be, for sure. Yuri actually gives this example of a weak DM that's way too focused on aisle and doesn't give the person reading it any clear benefits. It's just a list of features.
It's kind of like that saying, features tell, benefits sell.
Exactly. And the best way to show those benefits is to show how you've helped other people with similar problems. Yuri calls this social proof.
So instead of just saying, we're the best at X, I could say, we helped company Y increase their sales by 20% by using our approach.
Now you're talking. That's way more interesting, right? It gives the person an actual example of how you can help.
Okay, I see that. So we've got their attention with a good opener, and we've shown them what we can do for them. What's next? How do we get them to actually do something?
This is where Yuri talks about the gentle close.
Gentle close. That sounds nice. What does that actually look like?
It's all about making it really easy for the person to reply and not putting too much pressure on them. Yuri suggests things like worth a quick chat or open to learning more.
So it's less of a hard sell and more of an invitation.
Exactly. You're not demanding their time. You're giving them the option to keep talking if they want to.
I see. We've been talking a lot about text DMs, but what about other formats like audio or video messages? Are those okay to use on LinkedIn?
That's a great question, and it's something Yuri actually recommends. He thinks audio and video DMs can really help you stand out.
I can see how it would be more personal, but honestly, I get a little nervous even thinking about sending a video message to someone I don't really know.
I get it. It can feel weird at first, but think about it this way. Video lets you express a lot more than you can with just text. Your tone, your personality, all those things come through.
It's like adding that human element back in.
Exactly, and it's definitely more memorable. I mean, think about how many text messages you see every day. A video message is going to grab someone's attention and make them remember you.
So are there any good ways to use audio or video DMs? Should I just be sending like a video introduction to everyone I want to connect with?
Not really. Think about how you can use those formats to actually add something to the conversation. You could record a quick voice message thanking someone for connecting and mention something from their profile that you found interesting.
So instead of you saying thanks for connecting, I could say, I really enjoyed your recent article on X. It really got me thinking.
Exactly. Or imagine sending a video message to congratulate someone on something they shared on LinkedIn. It's way more personal and powerful than just a text message.
Okay, I'm starting to see the possibilities here. But I do have one question. Yuri said that we shouldn't personalize just to personalize. What do you think he means by that?
I think he's saying don't use personalization as a trick. Just using someone's name or mentioning their company isn't enough.
So it's more about showing them you actually understand their work and their challenges. It has to be real and valuable to them.
Exactly. Personalization needs to mean something to the other person. It's about connecting with them on a human level and showing that you really care about what they need.
So before I send any DM, I should ask myself, what's the point of this? Am I actually adding value, or am I just trying to sound clever?
That's a really good question to ask yourself.
We've gone over so much today. It's a lot to take in.
It is, but really it all comes down to this. LinkedIn is an amazing tool for building relationships, but you have to use it right.
And using it right means treating people like people, not just potential leads or clients.
Exactly. Be authentic, be helpful, and be yourself. And remember, it's all about building real connections.
That's a great point. I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about today. Do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Just this. Don't be afraid to try new things and see what works for you. There's no one right way to use LinkedIn, so find what feels right for you and what your audience responds to.
All right, so we've talked a lot about what we should be doing with LinkedIn DMs, but how do we actually take all of this and use it?
I think a good place to start is looking back at your own DMs. Go back and read some of the messages you've sent recently. And be honest, would you respond to them?
Ooh, that's a scary thought. I'm already thinking about some of the DMs I've sent and cringing.
Oh, we've all been there. It's part of the process, but once you see where you can improve, you can start using what Yuri talked about. Be short and clear and relevant. Get rid of all that corporate jargon and just write like you're talking to a real person.
Right. And remember that stat about the 6th grade reading level? Sometimes simpler is better.
Totally. And the next thing is to think about what you bring to the table. What problems do you solve for the people you're connected with? And how can you show that in your message?
So before I even write a DM, I should be asking myself, what's in it for them?
Exactly. And don't forget about the call to action. Make it easy for them to respond. Remember, you're trying to build a relationship, not just get a meeting.
Like saying worth a chat.
Perfect. Now, I know audio and video DMs can be a little intimidating, but I think they're worth trying.
Yeah, I'm curious about them. But the thought of hitting record makes me nervous.
I get it. It's totally understandable. Maybe start small. Try sending a few voice or video messages to people you already know. See what they think and how it feels.
Kind of like practicing a new skill. It might feel weird at first, but it gets easier the more you do it.
And remember, your audio and video messages don't have to be perfect. Sometimes those little imperfections actually make you seem more real and relatable.
So just go for it. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you all with something to think about. Yuri Veremchuk said that we shouldn't personalize just for the sake of it. It has to be genuine, and it has to matter to the person you're messaging. So here's my challenge to you. How can you make your LinkedIn messages really stand out? How can you connect with people on a deeper level?
That's a great question, and I think everyone will have their own answer, but I'm sure you'll come up with some really interesting ideas.
I think so too. This has been such a great deep dive into LinkedIn DMs. I hope you're all feeling ready to write better messages and start some awesome conversations. Thanks for joining us, and happy connecting.
Acquiring a business? BizNexus simplifies it. Access thousands of updated opportunities in our DIY marketplace, or supercharge team sourcing with OmniSource, your all-in-one platform for on-market, off-market, and coming-soon deals. Scale smarter today. Learn more or book a demo at www.biznexus.com.